all day, starting with this morning with Olska Greens, talking about sustainable eyewear and fashion. It's really exciting to bring this full circle and talk about this virtual eyewear experience that we've been working on. I have with me Patricia Barilla. How are you, Patricia?
I'm great. It's been a great day. Thank you.
So, Patricia, it's interesting. You were telling me a story the other day about how you stumbled upon the connection between virtual and eyewear during the pandemic with your introduction of seeing the way your kids interacted with Roblox and, now coming here and exploring this event in a metaverse. Isn't that kind of interesting how your vision is kind of coming to fruition?
It's really interesting because I keep hearing a recurring theme of how the quarantine changed everyone's perspective on how we do business and the things that are possible. This
No
is
question.
it's been really interesting as I was telling Charlene that I didn't understand why my daughter would spend real money on things that didn't exist in real life until the quarantine and I was, nothing else to do. So I started playing with her online and it was so much fun. And one of the things that I really wanted in that experience that I kept looking for and could not find was the ability to have real eyewear on my avatar. That was something I really wanted to be able to do and say, that's my pro design frame or that's my Leibach and York frame, and not have that available was like there was a demand for that even in that space.
Well, that's a perfect transition because Patricia represents a couple of brands. She works with Leibach in York, Woo, Fossifos Pro Design. And when we were working together during this experience, she made a decision to bring these brands to the optical metaverse. And it's so exciting that she's really taken that leap of faith. We're going to show you the virtual success kit, which is something that we put together because not only is Patricia an amazing um, representative of all of these great brands, but she also is the founder of Organize, which you heard us talking a lot about. So we're going to take a walkthrough of that in a little bit. Patricia, how old is Organize?
Organize is 6 years old. This past April, it turned 6.
Wow. So you were way ahead of your time when you launched this technology.
Definitely, we were definitely ahead of our time. The joke is that my software architect is the mom and I'm the dad because she does all the work and I get all the credit.
I can understand that. So, we thought it would be kind of fun to use this visual experience to show you an optical shop. And, a lot of you have been in an optical shop, some of you as a patient, some of you as a person who's working there or running the shop. But, you know, at the end of the day, there's a lot of opportunities for improving this experience. And one of the tools that we designed for this event was the Virtual Success Business Kit. I'm going to go ahead and drop that in the feed right now. I wonder if there's a better way to share this. No. Okay, so it's a long link. Hopefully it'll work for you. And if it doesn't work for you, let us know. But we'll be going through each of the different applications that are in this kit and talking to you about how they help improve the eyewear experience for all buyers, whether they prefer to shop, physically or virtually. And I know, Patricia, you work with a lot of optical shops that are selling their products physically. Um, Obviously, you're working with Organize, but prior to stumbling upon some of the virtual tools that we've been talking about, are you hearing a lot of optical businesses wanting to become more virtually accessible?
Definitely. I think with the expansion of, Zenny Optical and Warby Parker, they really need to compete in that space in order to capture that younger market. So they are trying to move into a virtual selling experience, but it's difficult without the proper tools.
I couldn't agree more. And, it's exciting. We've had a lot of different people here today. Again, a lot of them have not been from the industry and they've really kind of enjoyed imagining eyewear, not even just because they're in the metaverse, but a lot of them haven't heard of some of these brands before. So it's been exciting to get exposure for some of these independent brands to the audience that they're probably most relevant to. So when you break down the virtual success kit, the first tool in your list is the VTO Live Demo. A lot of you have seen these before. This is, Planet VA is our partner. They've been designing, they were actually one of the first virtual try-on products in the world. So they've been doing this for a very, very long time. I'm going to kind of launch the demo here and show you how it works. So if you, we'll show you the frames library in a moment, but if you do have a frame in the frames library and you want to be on an optician's virtual try-on, you could just simply provide us with images or with a scan or whatever information you have of your frames. And then we're able to turn them into a virtual 3D asset and deploy them on any application. So it could be applications that we work with, and we can also help you to deploy them on applications that are outside of that, network of Planet VA. For instance, the Optical Metaverse, we integrated that software. And you look up here at the wall when you push E to browse frames, you can see the frames library tool. But this could very easily work with any other virtual try-on tool. Oh, Pro Design is on there. Look at that, Patricia.
It is.
Just in time. And the Woo and Fossifos are coming. Anybody can go into the Optical Near Me store right now in the Optical Metaverse. And since Frames Library is publishing in real time, because again, Kirk and Kirk, Leibach and York, and Pro Design were not on this library just a couple of days ago. But every time we add a new frame, it's instantly available. So it gives people a reason to come back and check out the Optical Near Me store to see what's new. So we'll talk about Frames Library in a minute, but let's just pull up the Pro Design, Patricia. Let's have some fun.
Oh, these were so much fun to put on here.
And I'll be sharing the Frames Library link in a moment.
There we
I
go.
can go through the different frames. That looks really
cute.
pretty.
I should send you that one.
Oh, I need this. I need this in my life. And just like seeing that rose, and actually what's really cool is it shows, how it, I'm getting older now. I'm like 46. So I like colors that kind of make me not have to worry about how good is my, concealer doing right now. Bring me all the bags. No, but this is just a really great way to let a patient go through a variety of different designers. So that this way, let's face it, it's a lot of work for you, especially in today's day and age. Maybe you should have been sanitizing your frames prior to the pandemic, but a lot of offices weren't, but most offices are still doing this. And, you look at even like Kirk and Kirk, you look at the reflection of the frames. It's just really, it shows the fun behind some of these brands. Even if that person doesn't have that frame in their hand, they can just say, hey, I'd love this frame. Now, obviously, if they're in your office, because again, these are tools that you can use in the office. I was looking I thought I saw a flash of orange on the inside of the frame, but if you're in the office, you can even do this. And this way, if you're busy, you can say, look, go do some pre-shopping, and then, make your wish list. And then I'll come and, get those frames and we'll sit down with you. Think about really streamlining your optical experience like that. And again, the patient can do this before or even while they're in the office. Sorry, got to do the ping. And again, we're going to drop these links so that you can enjoy them as well. Right now I'm in the optical shop, so I'll share that link with you first.
I think what really impressed me about the virtual try-on was how accurate the measurements were, because I do wear the Paris Pride, and when I put it on in the virtual try-on, it was almost identical to the frame I wear in real life.
That's interesting you picked up on that. So this is going to be, you're forcing me to talk about a new feature that has been facilitated by AI. So Ludwig Heimbeck has been using facial recognition and simple things like doing kind of like a rough pupil PD, using that series of information that we have, because obviously you're working direct with manufacturers. You know what the width of the frame is, you know what the height of the frame is, and if you can get the PD of the patient, you can get a pretty good real-time assessment of how that frame should look on that patient's face. But right now it's doing a very soft processing of that. In the future, the goal is to process that information in real time So you can tell if that frame would not be a fit on that patient. So the goal is to show the patient that that frame is just way too small for you. I see that Bruce is asking me a question here. Can Olivia's heart-shaped glasses be in here? So Olivia is somebody who's opened a store in the metaverse. She is not from the optical industry, but she loves heart-shaped glasses. She buys most of them on Zenny because she hasn't been able to find, or Amazon, manufacturers that make heart-shaped glasses. And obviously, when you buy these glasses online, there's a quality issue. So we've helped her to make those frames, and she's used the Level Up system to design her own frames, and now she can put them in her store. And she's the one selling them. It's really interesting that influencers have an ability now to work with brands and bring their ideas to market. A lot of these, they don't want to be a supply chain, they don't want to be a manufacturer, but they do want to offer products to their community that are aligned with their brand. So this era for independent eyewear companies is very, very, very important. If you're here and you're an eyewear brand, or if you're here and you know an eyewear brand, definitely tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, this is your time. You definitely want to pay attention to these tools. Okay, now we have the VTO avatar demo. So it's interesting when you develop technology, sometimes you develop for a specific use case, but then you get people coming in who say, wait, it would be good for this, or it would be good for this. So when this was first developed, actually Ludwig was not selling a live VTO. Even 6 years ago when I first started working with him, he was not selling a live VTO. And there was a lot of reasons he wasn't doing this, but he thought mostly he could provide a differentiator in the market by letting people upload their face and create an avatar and put the eyewear on. But what's interesting is he got a lot of pushback because people said, oh, people don't like to see inanimate representations of themselves. This is a phenomenon called, I believe it's called the Valley of the Dolls, where people get freaked out if they see like an inanimate version of themselves. It makes them kind of subconsciously fear death. Now look where we are. Everything's avatars, right? We've come a long way since then. But now this solution is actually still being used. And there's a lot of reasons it's being used. One is, let's say you have a grandmother or a grandfather, and they do this thing that they say, go buy me glasses. So now you've got this, child or sister or cousin or aunt, whatever, saying, hey, my grandma wants glasses. She kind of likes black. And, maybe here's a picture of her. But, listen, that's not very helpful. So now you can upload that picture into a system like this, and you could, show the patient or you could show the family member different pictures, and they can even share them with the patient, even if they're not there. So these are really fun tools that make the experience interactive, even if there's different people involved that are in different places. What are your thoughts on that, Patricia, as an optician? Where can you see some use cases for this?
Well, we had in a private session a conversation where my family thinks that my reach is infinite within the industry. So I make glasses for my family all over the country. And I can't tell you, I probably have a 90% remake because it's impossible to do from a distance. So that's where I would use it personally. But I think this is just, we had somebody on yesterday who was working with hospice patients and people who have mobility issues. I think this is something that would be really beneficial in that space.
No question. And one thing I could say is Ludwig has been pretty clear that this sort of an experience is much better for measuring than a live experience. People move their head. The eyewear isn't always stationary on the face. So this really gives an opportunity to get exactly to that pupillary distance and get those measurements that you need. So next up on our list is the eyewear configurator. It's interesting. A lot of brands or a lot of people wanted to just have a way to show the eyewear without the face. And what the configurator does is it allows any frame that is in the frames library. So again, the frames library in this case is that source, to now deploy that frame in an eyewear configurator. So the way Ludwig has structured his pricing, and again, Ludwig isn't here. He's on the other end of the world. So he's sleeping in bed right now. And we're so happy to bring these tools, to your attention. But he's decided to create an all-inclusive pricing where when you pay whatever amount you pay monthly, you get access to all the tools. So you can really pick and choose which ones work for you. I'm sure that pricing will change over time, but for now, it really lets opticians not say to themselves, wait, do I want to do the frames library or do I want to do the configurator? You could just pay one price and get all the technology. And, you might find that, hey, I've got this opportunity to provide eyewear to somebody who's a lifeguard and they might know other lifeguards. Can you create a beach environment with sunglasses so I can show them what different, lenses and frames look like on the beach? So, a funny thing happens with visualization. If people can visualize that product in an environment that they're comfortable with, it just feels much more relevant to them. What do you think about that, Patricia?
Well, I'm looking at this, and one of the manufacturers that I work with is Leibach in York, and they do handmade product out of Slovenia. And a lot of the stuff that they do is small batch, one unique piece. You may have seen the dollar, the euro embedded into the acetate. And these are really difficult to appreciate online in just a photograph. So with something like this from a B2B perspective, this allows me a much larger reach so that you can actually see the intricate detail of that piece and have a real clear understanding of what you're getting before you buy it.
You really bring up a great point. And, with I can't do it right now because I'm on my laptop, but with your scroll, you can really zoom into these features. Even like, you look at that, you can see the screw right there. A lot of opticians want to see, they want to touch and feel frames before they buy them. From a
Absolutely.
wholesale
They want to see the
standpoint,
details of that hinge, how it comes together. They want to see, where you're most likely to have issues with hair catching. And those are things that you can't capture with a standard photograph. And this really does that.
absolutely. And, it's interesting. Ludwig's been developing this technology for a long time, but when we stumbled upon the development of the optical metaverse, and we started working with that team, we said, hey, I wonder if they can produce the frames in Unreal Engine 5 and make them look more real. So all of the new frames that we're producing with Frames Library are designed in Unreal Engine 5. And as you can see, I mean, like, just look at those little bumps on you might miss that detail. I didn't even know you can move the frame. That was like a weird thing. I never done that before, but look at that detail. Like, you can, now someone might like that, someone might not like that. So, someone might buy this frame seeing it online from so I didn't even know I could do that, but seeing it from this perspective, and they might, because like a lot of times you can't tilt the frame down, you just see it from like this angle or this angle, and you might just totally miss that it's got those bumps there. But now when you look at it up top, you can see that angle, you can see the light reflecting off of it. It lets you kind of get an idea of, what those details are. And again, sometimes it's a benefit, sometimes it's a feature that maybe that patient doesn't want. So these tools just really give you the opportunity to avoid remakes and errors by showing all of that information. So somebody had asked earlier today, I was building my avatar and I really want to make green frames for me or blue frames for me, or like Olivia's case, frames with hearts on them. And anyone can design eyewear right now. There's so many tools out there where you can design and you can even bring them to life in 3D. Then you could create a file that's called a GLB. And with that file, you can provide it to the team at the Optical Metaverse and Planet VA, and they could take that file and they could turn it into what's called a 3D asset. So it's an asset when it's in an environment like the Omniverse city, and you could put it in a library like Ready Player Me. Now, I'm just going to go back to the beginning of the Omniverse city experience, so you can remember what that Ready Player Me experience is like. And I'm going to click create a new avatar. So if I choose an avatar that doesn't have eyewear, or that doesn't matter, I can change their eyewear. So these are called assets. And I could put these different assets on my avatar. Now the problem is, Ready Player Me, absolutely can customize their library. Well, there's your green frames, David. But you need to know, you need to have an API to do that. So the Omniverse City does have that API. So you would be able to send your GLB files in. We would get it added to the frames library. And then you can decide if you want to deploy that asset, that frame, to the Ready Player Me library, which would be exclusively available through the Omniverse City. So again, let me just break that down again. And I'll use Liebach in York, and I'll use specifically that Euro frame as an example, Patricia. How's that sound?
Perfect.
You following me?
Yeah, because that's what I want.
Okay. So let's say Liebach made a limited edition of these frames. Maybe they made, what, like 100?
Not even. More like 25.
Okay. So, and let's say Liebach decided, all right, Patricia, you dragged us into the metaverse. We call that meta napping.
Definitely, that's what happened.
We 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 heard that you're dealing with this NFT thing, which we don't understand. Um, but we're learning now that it has a great relationship with products that are exclusive. So, how do we make this exclusive frame with the euro embedded in it fit into this weird, wild world that you just dragged us into? Patricia would say, "What do you think, Charlene?" And I would say, "Well, here's what we could do. We can get the images of that frame, pictures. And again, you can use photogrammetry apps in your iOS phone to do this, but our team is able to produce 3D images from very, very, very bad information. I don't know how they do it. Don't ask me, and I'm not spilling the sauce even if I did know. But you could take a picture of the front and the side of that frame, and that alone is enough. Now, it's not ideal because when you start simulating these things in environments, you want to get new information like how does this frame look in different lighting? How does it look in the sun? How does it look in the sun at sunset? Like, how does it look on somebody's face when they're 6 feet tall, 5 feet tall, at different angles? So if you can provide lots of these different pictures with these different lighting settings, those images are fed into a system that uses artificial intelligence that works in cooperation with the lighting that's built into these systems to simulate how that lighting would reflect off the frame in real time. Why am I telling you this weird stuff, turning the fire hose on full blast? You might not understand that. And not understand it, but that might not make a whole lot of sense to you. Why would someone want this level of detail and the perfection of the way this frame responds in lighting? But if you attach a digital, let's call it a digital certificate. Liebach in York has a digital certificate with that frame that shows all of these different 360-degree. Again, I'm going to give you a visual while I'm doing this. All of these 360-degree angles of this, and I can simulate the environment, and I can change it from this to this environment, and maybe I could simulate custom environments that really relate to the theme of that lens. Maybe there's like a special bank that produces the euro that like somebody has a really close relationship with, or different themes that relate to the euro that we can share, different countries related to the euro. So now, because I have that digital certificate, I am the only one that can activate this 3D experience, that could see that frame and all of these different levels of light. And I have the physical frame locked in a box somewhere where no one can ever touch it, because I'm not going to wear it. It's a piece of art. But I'm going to show it to people in my 3D environment. And I'm going to also bring it into the Optical Metaverse library. I'm going to put it here. So maybe no one can buy that frame anymore. Maybe it's sold out. But I can put it on my avatar, and I can wear it around the Omniverse City. And maybe I can only do that if I get express permission from Liebach in York, or potentially from the holder of those frames. So it might sound complex, but this is the way this new world works, where, I might have access to something as a fan that I just couldn't have in real life. And the people who have invested in that product, they get to decide how much access they're willing to share with me, and whether that's free access or paid access or earned access. Um, I've gone far enough down the rabbit hole, Patricia. What do you think about that scenario?
I'm in. I love the idea of vintage eyewear or eyewear that doesn't exist anymore, and I have for decades. And so now the ability to have a representation of that that you can show off in, your game or whatever it is that you're doing or playing, and have that physical product attached to it just makes it that much more special, because like you said, it's not just a piece of clothing. It's art. It's wearable art. And that's how I've always felt about it. So this is just the next step of that.
You're absolutely right. Now, thank you, Bruce, for that comment. It's like a walking billboard. You couldn't be more right. I mean, how many times have you bumped into somebody's avatar during this weekend and said, I love your outfit, right? I love your glasses. I love the way you're expressing yourself. That's the first thing you notice, right?
Definitely.
Like, seriously, do any of us really have the time to get dolled up like this anymore? I have zero issues with one click dolling up my avatar. Zero issues. Ask me to go in my closet and do this. I can. I've got the clothing to do it. I've got the makeup. No, I am so. You know how many people turned off their cameras this weekend and were like, thank God we only have to put our avatars up. It's so funny. Like, right? Like, you can turn your camera on right now. No one's telling you not to do that. But isn't it great that there's no pressure on you? You could just have that audio representation.
All right, there you go. There's my camera.
But somebody else asked, and by the way, thank you for that comment, Dr. Oatney, that you hope the eye care industry embraces the metaverse. You've been here a while. Dr. Oatney was calling himself a metaverse doctor before he discovered the optical metaverse, so he was obviously very fascinated by it. But I did see your question, Bruce, about economics, but I wanted to answer this question. Can you do this with gaming eyewear? So the interesting thing is, you've heard us talking about level up during this weekend. Gamers want to, period. That's what, I mean, they enjoy playing. If there's a game, they want to play it. If there's a new level, they want to play it. You think about Fortnite. You were talking, I don't know if it was here, Patricia, or offline, where you were talking about the amount of money that your kids spent in Roblox.
Oh, it's painful.
Fortnite's much worse.
Oh, yes, she plays that one too.
My kid gets $100 V-Bucks gift certificates from grandma for every
and they're gone in 20 minutes.
Exactly.
Oh, you're muted.
And if you look at it, the outfits that they put on these things, they're very unique and they're very different and they're very branded. So this is a really good opportunity.
I think it's really fascinating and kind of wonderful that the kids have the ability to express themselves online in ways that they just wouldn't be bold enough to do in real life.
Well, and before the metaverse started blowing up, getting your assets on Fortnite was extremely difficult. I mean, you were only seeing huge brands doing this. But what's great now is you're seeing much smaller brands getting into this now. And with the conversation that we had earlier this morning with Olska Green on sustainability, there should not be a question in anyone's mind that brands are going to be pressured to start becoming more sustainable. So talking about Dr. Oatney's question about gaming eyewear, yes, you can put gaming eyewear. Now, again, there's only a few companies out there producing gaming eyewear. There are a lot of offices making gaming eyewear by putting really good quality blue light lenses and frames that they measure and fit for gamers. But there are companies out there now starting to build bespoke eyewear programs. And we have worked with a lot of the manufacturers and that you've met even this weekend to develop a bespoke gaming eyewear program that allows opticians and optometrists and gaming companies and esports players, anybody who says, hey, I want to build a culture and a community around eyewear related to gaming, you can do that now. So you can work with an existing frame company and an existing lens company to do this, or you can build your own experience. Now, my my NFT is missing, so I don't know if they removed it for a minute, but later today you'll be able to come here to this Times Square area and you'll see a little bobbing QR code. So that's an asset that's called a POAP, proof of attendance provided. So that means, or proof of attendance purchased, whatever, one of the two. So that means that when you collect that on, blockchain encrypted asset, wherever you are, you might scan a QR code at a physical event. You might do it while you're on a platform like this, whatever that is. It's basically stamping your moment in history. It's saying you really were here, right? You really were at this moment in time. So if you develop gaming eyewear, you could put these POAPs, these, basically free digital collectibles anywhere you want, anywhere that you could put a QR code, anywhere that you can, log into something, certainly anywhere in the metaverse. A lot of social media platforms are offering this now. And that's why you're seeing companies like MetaMask and MetaKeep fighting and racing for what's called interoperability. This is because if I get those, let's say I get those Leibach and York frames, and I decide I do want to level them up, I do want to put gaming lenses in them, I can go to a level up provider and they could take my measurements, learn about my gaming lifestyle, fit me with a lens that's best for me based on their decision, because this is the optician's decision. And they can even equip it with a game that Leibach and York has made available. So maybe now that I've leveled up my lenses, now I can go into the Omniverse City or Roblox or Fortnite, any other, platform like this, and I can play new games that are only available for people who have these eyewear. So I can meet people like me in these experiences and I could play games with them. So that means that you're basically creating a gaming community. But
That's really neat.
maybe there are people who play games competitively, people who participate in esports. This is a missing link for a lot of eye care providers because these individuals really care about their performance, their acuity, their visual function. They will definitely listen to you if you tell them you're going to be able to shoot, 3 seconds faster if you let us help you with some vision training exercises. I hope that answered your question, Dr. Oatney. I really love what you just said, Bruce. And to level up people with a disability, to take away that part of the in-person awkwardness that can happen. Yeah, level up means different things for different people. For some, it could just mean, technically, opticians and optometrists have been helping people to level up since the invention of glasses and good vision care, right? With good vision, you can do anything in your life better. So yeah, you're absolutely right. You guys have always been the champions of leveling up. What was the other question? Oh, so what Bruce is saying is if we can reduce remakes by providing better visuals of eyewear, so people aren't, Amazon taught us you can return anything, but sustainability teaches us don't do that. Like, don't just buy something and know that 80% of the time it's going to be wrong, and that you're going to get this box and this gas and this person's time and your time and then just send it back because it was wrong when you can get it right. So I would imagine that the remakes would go down substantially with tools like this. So we're going to talk about Frames Library in just a moment, but Patricia, did you have anything else to add?
No, not on this piece.
So it all starts with Frames Library, and you can build your own Frames Library. Obviously, you see brands here from around the world. They're all independent, but and just so you know, larger brands are welcome as well to participate in Frames Library. So if you do know of a brand that you would like to see on here, let them know. Just say, hey, I'd really like to. And this could be whether you're a consumer or an optician. We built Frames Library so that you as an optician and an optometrist, and even as a patient, can choose the products that you like, that you enjoy from the comfort of your home. So if you don't see a brand here that you love, talk to them and say, hey, can you please, participate in Level Up? Because I want to send this one link to everyone on my email database to try and stimulate some sales. I don't want to do the old school way. I don't want to say, hey, we're running a sale. Maybe you should come in sometime and never know if it works. I want to send an email that says, hey, try on some of these frames and tell me, which ones you like by clicking the heart. And with new technologies in AI and, developing these data management systems, you could even get to know the types of frames that your customer is interested in based on how they interact with your frames library. So those are some of the new developments, as well as Planet VA is working diligently on what they call the Style Assistant, which allows the frames library to recommend frames based on the patient's previous interests in the Omniverse City and other platforms as well. Not just the Omniverse City, even unrelated platforms. Frames library will be integrated with as many data points as possible so that the patient can bring their user journey to this tool and get recommendations based on their lifestyle. Maybe they spend a lot of time at the beach. Maybe they spend a lot of time playing sports. So now their frames library can make recommendations for them based on some of the things that their optician may not know about them. So those are some of the cool ways that virtual technology can just completely innovate the dispensing experience. I'll bring it back here to the studio. And any more questions? I'll give you the closing word, Patricia. I love that you've taken this journey with us. Oh, we missed one. We missed organize. Hold on. That was the whole reason I brought you on here. Okay, so you're an optician. You just got this frames library list. Somebody says, I like these frames. You're going to want to be able to make it easy for them to give them a quote. So you want me to let you share your screen so you could talk about organize?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
So I'll walk you through a little bit of what we've done here. Originally, this program was designed with the independent optician and optometrist in mind, who spend thousands of hours and countless unknown dollars counting frames and tagging product with a Sharpie. And we really wanted to streamline that for them and make it really easy to just keep track of their bottom line and focus more of their attention on their patients. And well, it does that very well because I work as an outside sales rep and some of my territory is very difficult to reach. One of the pieces that we built out was the business to business portion. So this also allows you, in addition to keeping track of all your inventory, it allows you to create your purchase orders with your vendors. And all of Frames Library is in here now. And the code is up, so that's open to everybody who wants to use it. So we select our location, we select the brand that we want to work with. As you can see, everybody's in there that's in Frames Library. And then we can do a couple of different things. You can shop through Frames Library and select the pieces that you want and create a purchase order here without having to speak to anybody, if that's what you want to do, and then just access all of those brands independently and kind of travel through that on your own. Or we've made it so that if you want to meet with our sales team and have those conversations, we can create these orders for you, help you kind of navigate the system, decide what you want, figure out, what the specials and all of that, the stuff that a salesperson would do in person, and do all of that here, and then save that and send it out for approval. So you send this to anybody you want. You can send it to your sales rep. You can send it to your manager, and you can track that order process here. So it's been created, it's been sent. We even have the ability to order labels for you so you can stop writing on tags. And then once that's been approved, then that goes out for shipping, and your manufacturer can then add your shipping details here, and you have your purchase order history here, which really allows everybody to collaborate. So we've seen a lot of private equity in this space, and they have a central purchasing department. Your vendor may be, in South Africa or Slovenia, and your office is in LA. These are a lot of people who have a very difficult time communicating with each other, and we've streamlined this process to allow them to do that in one clean space. And we've made that available to everyone here in the Optical Metaverse at no charge.
And Patricia, I know you're going to be doing a full presentation on this. I believe it's tomorrow sometime, right?
Tomorrow morning at 6 a.m.
Your time.
Yeah.
Not our time. Don't you, any of you, come here at 6 a.m.
The massive question I've gotten from all of my friends and my coworkers and my family is it recorded?
So, and we'll be digging into the story and how you did this, and I really can't wait. But when you and I met, seriously, it was such serendipity. It was just, good old fashioned networking at work, right? And a lot of the tools that have been developed through Frames Library and Planet VA, it's a mashup of different companies working together to create a complete solution for the ECP. But meeting you with Organize, it's just such a perfect fit because you're helping the office inside of the office with their inventory. But now that you're learning that some of these frame companies are open to virtual selling systems that allow offices to have not only access to products in the Frames library and Organize library, but also the ability to sell these products even if they're not physically in their store, which means that it could just, well, you talk about that opportunity because I'm not an optician. I've never run an office. I'm not an expert in inventory, but I love that you are. How do you see this complete suite of products working together in concert for the customer?
The first thing I should say is that most people create a business based on what they love, and I actually created it based on what I hate. Inventory is such a painful process for anybody who does it, from your sales reps who comes into your store and counts your frames manually, to the optician or the office manager, the doctor who has to deal with it, anybody on the manufacturing side who's dealing with it. It's so painful and tedious that we really wanted to alleviate that for as many people as possible. So what we did was we bridged the gap. Your manufacturers have, powerful inventory tools, and practice management software kind of deals with it as an afterthought. But the gap is between the manufacturer and the practice management. Because as a manufacturer, I can drive 3.5 hours to a location and they haven't sold a single piece for whatever reason. Now it's an even exchange situation that just cost me $150, and there's pressure on their end for them to sell or for them to purchase, for me to sell. And it would have been alleviated if I had just known what was in their store before I got there. So, it's a really useful tool in that capacity for my optician to just walk over and say, hey, we have an appointment tomorrow morning. Great. We're confirmed for 9 a.m. Awesome. I'm going to send you my inventory of your particular brand, and then we can kind of streamline that process. So what used to take 2 hours now takes less than 30 minutes because I've already got your inventory. I've got your suggested return. I know how old your product is, how long it's been sitting there. I know, which pieces are discontinued, and we can do all of that remotely. So when I do walk into the store, and if you do need to see a physical product in person, that process is like, great, just show me what's new. 15 minutes later, awesome. I will create the order and I will send it to you, and you can get that approved from your central purchasing, which can be, on Australian time or whoever knows. And then we can send that directly to our manufacturers. And this works for even smaller brands who don't have those purchasing systems in place. Like, some brands are still using paper order forms and driving. Out here, it's nearly $6 a gallon to drive, and it can be very expensive and very difficult to compete for smaller brands and independent reps. So we really wanted to make that as easy as possible for everybody and as affordable. And with the addition of the virtual try-on feature, and now the Frames library, and now this, Metaverse experience where you can do all of that in your own time, it makes it so that the office manager and the optician can have that shopping experience, which is so much fun. And it should be fun. You can have that experience and you can do it on your own time. But instead of doing that in a way where oh, my favorite color is purple, so everything I buy in my store is purple. You can really use the data, your purchasing history, and the data from your vendors to help you create a more well-rounded inventory and to minimize the amount of time you spend, doing tedious tasks.
Well, this session was about just really designing a virtual eyewear experience because let's face it, no offices really have a virtual eyewear experience. They might have a virtual try on. Most of them don't even know how to use it. And I don't think there's anything else in the business that we would consider virtual. So we just talked about what, 10, 12 different virtual tools that can be used interchangeably, together, separate. But now that you've seen some of these tools and, the way innovation works is now you start thinking about how to take what you have and innovate it even better. How can you imagine a virtual eyewear experience being a standard for, optical businesses as we come into this new era of everything, metaverse, Web3, that whole thing that's going
You've
on?
completely changed my perspective on what is possible, especially with, the introduction of this concept of, not creating more than we need. So with this experience, you can create that virtual optometry office and you can have customers driven to that space and they can try on products and even create the demand before you've ordered the product and then have that order go to your manufacturer, and then you minimize the amount of waste and you only produce what you need. And everybody in that experience is having this streamlined, personalized virtual experience from all over the world in real time. And you still have the personal element of having a salesperson in your store or having an optician hold your hand through this experience and help you find the products that you need. But the expense of it, the waste of it, and the time it takes to do these things has been completely eliminated. So I think what you've done is so powerful for not only, us as vendors, but also for the consumer, because now they have more tools to access the independent, which, let's face it, independent doctors are the best resource for eye care because they genuinely, honestly care whether or not you can see more than they care about their profit margins. And that's what we're trying to bring back. That's what we're trying to protect, is that attention to detail and that focus on patient care.
And we tried so diligently this entire weekend to keep the conversation very positive. And for that reason, there's a topic that we had to stay far away from because it's really hard to talk about this topic without without calling out the bad elements of it. And I'll just get right to the point. And what inspired this comment is something that Eric Mate just said, that if you give the people what they want, then you can leverage the data. In other words, if you can learn what they want virtually, you can leverage that data to give them what they want. Leverage the data. How can you leverage the data if you don't have the data? And again, I'm not going to take away from your one of your main talking points for tomorrow, Patricia, but we got to just hit the nail on the head now that Eric's given us an opportunity because we got the sledgehammer. Talk about data and how blind offices are without it.
You know, I think that there's this general concept that we have to stay positive and we have to always think positively. And while that's true, the reason that I've managed to be so successful in the different endeavors that I've been involved in is because the first thing I ask a person, whether it's personal or professional, is what hurts? What are your pain points? And then how can we solve those problems? And one of the massive issues that I run across in almost every aspect of my life is how little people focus on the data. They don't know what they're spending, or they don't know what products are moving, or they don't know the difference in performance of their employees, who's selling and who's not. And why is that? It's not because they're a bad employee or one's better. It's probably because one of them has an interest in something that isn't involved in selling. And if you have that information, it's so powerful, and you can not only protect your business. One of the major things that I run into with inventory is, in the event of a robbery, Nobody wants to talk about it, but it happens. In the event of a robbery, how do you file an insurance claim if you don't know what your products are worth? In the event of a sale, how can you adequately ask for what you're worth if you don't know what you're worth? This is an area where so many people are lacking. We have this joke in my family where my husband and I owned a restaurant several years ago, and he called me one day, and I never worked in the restaurant. I don't cook. If you want to hide something from me, put it in the oven. I'll never find it. But I run.
Boy, your husband and my husband should get married.
Well, I run all the back end. I do all the compliance. I do all the taxes and all of the boring stuff nobody wants to do. And he calls me one day and he says, Trish, I think I'm going to stop selling the tuna sandwich. And I said, why? He said, because I don't like it. And I said, okay, babe, I love you, but I don't care what you like. This is a business, it's not our kitchen. And so I said, okay, hold on. So I pulled up the numbers and I said, the tuna sandwich is the second best selling sandwich on our menu, and it has the highest profit margins by far of anything else you sell. And I sent the data to him from my phone at a stoplight while I was on my way to an appointment. And the following day he says, I think I'm going to put the tuna sandwich on special and sell the hell out of it every single day. And, over time, just that small change impacted our bottom line. And it was just simply having that information and making that small little change that impacted the overall profitability of our business and allowed him to do things that he would, wanted to do, like add equipment or hire another employee, creating a job by, just changing your perspective on the product that you're selling. And that's what I really want our doctors to understand. Nobody wants to talk about the boring stuff. Nobody wants to talk about the numbers, and nobody wants to talk about the things that are painful. But that's where we really need to leverage technology and software to ease those pain points and to address that data. And once you have that information, you can make decisions that will benefit your patients and focus primarily on them, because the software does the rest.
And I'll leave off with this point. This is the optical metaverse, and anything that you do that's metaverse related is all about decentralization and, fighting for the rights of every individual, whether it be the business owner or the patient. And when you talk about perception, which is that story you told with Mike, really just screams to the fact that there was this perception that the tuna sandwich wasn't selling, and you gave him raw physical data that was, irrefutable, that's not true. But without that, you wouldn't have been able to shift that perception. And who knows what would have been the result. In our industry, there's a lot of perceptions. Most of them really aren't powered by people's real beliefs. They're just powered by a lot of what they see and hear that they don't really have the tools to question effectively. I have so many customers that after working with me, it doesn't matter what we're doing, building a virtual trade show, building a virtual optical, building a virtual whatever. The first thing they always say is, holy moly, I've missed all this stuff. Like, how did I not prioritize this in my life? How did I not make this a focus? And it's because you don't have the data. You don't have the data to see that there's thousands of people looking for, millions of people looking for solutions for gaming lenses. I mean, when I have doctors ask me if there are gamers in their community, I want to cry. I'm like, do you not watch the news? Like, seriously, this whole generation plays games. That's all they do. I mean, Roblox, Fortnite, all of these things. And we have to start becoming more provocative and asking these questions and providing these decentralized meeting places where we can have these conversations, because we're all thinking the same thing. We just don't have the data to really prove that we're onto something here. So thank you for spiking off this extra little point, Eric. I think it was good that I was staying away from this subject of conversation because I like people to have their own aha moments. But yes, we are here to raise the curtain. And at that moment, I think I'll end the session. What do you think, Patricia?
I think so.
That's a mic drop, right?
Definite mic drop. Perfect.
Okay. We'll see you guys. Just so you guys know, we set up a final kind of meet and greet. We tried a new format for that wasn't in the metaverse, but that was in like a mini verse. So you'll see what I mean. When you leave, you'll see join session. If you want to come in and say goodnight, it's a much easier process than creating the avatar and getting through the Omniverse city, just so you can